Monday Health Minutes, sponsored by Valley Health.
Hi, I'm Melanie Shafer. This is Valley Health Minutes. One of a parent's biggest concerns is my child bullied? It is a very top concern. About 20% of kids, this is reported, experience some type of bullying. The number could be much higher than that. So what are we to do about this? How do we see that our kids are going through a problem like this? We're talking with Dr. Corey Booth about that today. He is a clinical psychologist and has all kinds of advice. So what are the things that indicate our child could be having a problem with bullying?
So there are many different things that we might look for that might be an indication that there's a concern. Sometimes you see that kids might appear more anxious, more depressed. They might be more likely to isolate themselves from both family and friends. Sometimes if we notice that they're talking about their friends less, right, that's something that we might want to be mindful of. Additionally, thinking about things like changes in their grades, changes in their desire to want to go to school, reluctance to go to school, all might be indicators. And then on the more severe end, thinking about observable things, any unexplained injuries, bruising, that sort of thing might be an indication, but then you also start to become concerned about things like self-harm. So observing those types of things might be certainly an indication that parents should be concerned or start to ask questions.
Yeah. What actually constitutes bullying? I know, we all went to school at some time and maybe felt uncomfortable, but the world is a much different place for our kids.
Indeed. So we differentiate bullying from your typical teasing on a couple of different factors. We look at the power dynamic, and we look at harm, and we look at how often it's happening. So with typical teasing, both parties involved are going to typically describe that as pleasant interaction. They might laugh, they might look back on it and say, this was part of our relationship, or it fits the dynamic. And it doesn't happen a whole lot, and nobody's being hurt, right? With bullying, there's a power difference. Whether that's real or perceived is very important to keep in mind. Then there's harm being caused. So the person that is being targeted is experiencing this as distressful, whether that's emotionally or physically. And then if bullying oftentimes is repeated, and that's one of the things that, again, can be a very big indicator, something that's recurring, happens frequently. So that's kind of the way that we look at it.
How do you have a conversation with your child about this? I know a lot of times you're looking for something that might be off, but in some instances, kids may just completely fool you that nothing is wrong. Should you just have regular conversations, check-in points to make sure all is going well?
Absolutely. So we often want parents to check in, but it starts with trust. And so one of the ways that we can build that trust that will encourage those conversations is by having regular conversations that maybe don't even have to do with bullying. That we use open questions. How was your day? What was something that was nice about your day? What was something that was not great about your day? What might you do differently, right, if something were to happen similar, the next day? And then that encourages our kids to be more open with our parents. By that time, they're trusting, they know that we're there, we're sending them the message, I'm available if you need me, and that increases the chances that they come to us. Understandably, when kids are bullied, oftentimes they're worried that if I report it, I'm going to be in trouble, right? And then there certainly might be a lot of guilt or shame, and all of those things make it so much harder to talk about. But the more kind of work we put in on the front side, building that trust, and with those regular conversations, the better off that we tend to be.
If you feel like your child has a concern, a problem, do you go to your pediatrician first? How do you go about making an appointment to see someone to help?
So the concern, if it presents itself, and your goal is to access behavioral health services. There's several different ways you might do that. You might go to your pediatrician, you might schedule an appointment, and in that conversation you might ask to speak to a behavioral health provider, which most of the time we can provide that service in the form of what we call a warm handoff. And this is something where the pediatrician would bring one of us in and introduce us, and we might have a quick conversation about what's been going on. And then we're able to discuss a plan with both the child and the parent about how we might want to follow up. Outside of that, parents can always call the office and kind of ask for a behavioral health advocate or ask to schedule an appointment, and that's one way to kind of get into those services.
I definitely have the conversations early and often. Dr. Booth, thank you so much for all of your tips. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks for being here for Valley Health Minutes. We'll see you next Monday.